In the Holy Land, the protagonists are the stones. From the ancient ones, witnesses of many biblical events, to the living stones, the local Christians whose presence has always been supported by the custody of the Holy Land. Amir got cancer 3 times, but he didn't let it overwhelm him. On the contrary, from his pain, a great hope was born, together with the desire to give something to others. That is why he decided to create the Haya Foundation in Nazareth. The 5th Regional Bible Knowledge Competition was held on July the 3rd at the St. Anthony of Nazareth Centre. 16 couples from different Christian parishes scattered throughout the country participated in the event. First prize, a trip to Rome and Lourdes. Built in 1163 during the reign of Queen Melisenda, St. James's Cathedral is the heart of the Armenian quarter of Jerusalem's Old City. In the church, according to Armenian tradition, there are the relics of 2 distinct saints named James, whose stories meet in this very place. Stones everywhere you look, in the streets, in the architecture of the houses, in the walls of the shops, in some public benches, and on the doors and walls surrounding the old town. Houses in Jerusalem must be made of stone because the earthly Jerusalem corresponds to the heavenly Jerusalem, and the heavenly Jerusalem, as described in the Apocalypse by St. John, is made of precious, wonderful stones. For this reason, the stones of the earthly Jerusalem must anticipate, evoke the heavenly Jerusalem. Stones have been used in the Bible in different ways, and their importance goes far beyond the mere physical appearance.
La simbologia della pietra nella Bibbia è molto ricca.
The symbolism of the stone in the Bible is very rich. First of all, we see that the tablets of the law that Moses received on Sinai were written on stone. The stone means stability, security. In another very beautiful text from the book of Samuel, David takes 5 stones with his stick and sling to kill the giant Goliath. The giant is a symbol of evil. We have another text, Isaiah 51. Look at the stone from which you have been cut, and the quarry from which you have been extracted. And he continues, look at Abraham and Sarah. Abraham is called the rock from which the Jewish people were cut. Peter, who received this promise, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, is a new Abraham. Just as the faith of the Jewish people is based on Abraham, so the faith of Christians has its basis in the faith of Peter.
Come la fede degli ebrei è basata su Abramo, la fede dei cristiani è basata sulla fede di Pietro.
Time goes by, they remain, they bring beauty, they are part of the history of this holy land, in all the places where Jesus passed, the cornerstone.
Abbiamo a Gerusalemme tantissime pietre.
In Jerusalem we have many stones, the stone of anointing, the stone of agony, the stone of Calvary. These stones that we have here in Jerusalem are all the memorials of the life, passion and death of Jesus and recall a fundamental text, Psalm 118. The stone discarded by the builders has become the cornerstone. In Hebrew, stone is eben, while son is ben. It means that God can make children for Israel from these stones. And in fact, the stone rejected, the son rejected, has become the cornerstone.
Il figlio rigettato è diventato la pietra angolare.
In addition to preserving the memorial stones, the Franciscans guard the living stones of the Holy Land.
I francescani sono qui ormai da più di 800 anni e i francescani anche sono custodi della pietra della memoria e siamo custodi di tutti i luoghi santi, ma anche siamo i custodi della...
The Franciscans have been here for more than 800 years now. We are the custodians of the memorial stones and of all the holy places, but we are also custodians of the living stones, of the people of this place, and this is the most important thing. That is why the Franciscans have always built the parish, schools, sports, social and spiritual centres, housing and houses to rent. We also give work and scholarships. The custody helps these families, these people, so that they can stay here and live with dignity in this Holy Land. This is why the custody does so much for the living stones.
E diamo anche il lavoro. Abbiamo anche le borse degli studi. La custodia aiuta queste famiglie, aiuta queste persone per poter vivere, per poter rimanere, per poter vivere in dignità anche in questa terra santa, e per questo la custodia veramente per la pietra viva fa tante cose.
In the Holy Land, many stones bring back to biblical times and facts, stones that have been part of the history of God's people and of the life and teachings of Christ. He himself said, "If the voice of the prophets is silent, the stones will cry out," and exhorted, "He who is without sin cast the first stone." I decided to open the Haya Foundation after a bone marrow transplant at the Rambam Hospital in Haifa. Amir got cancer 3 times, but he didn't let it overwhelm him. On the contrary, from his pain, a great hope was born, together with the desire to give something to others, which is why he decided to create the Haya Foundation in Nazareth. Founded in 2017, it is a non-profit organization that aims to support orphan children with various chronic diseases, helping them to integrate into society. The Haya Foundation aims to support these children from a social and cultural point of view, paying also attention to their integration into society. I believe that everything in life corresponds to a so-called win-win situation. It means that both you and I benefit from the same situation. This is exactly what happens with these children. They benefit from our activity, but so does society. They study, for example, but in the meantime they also teach others valuable lessons. In short, we kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Amir's story teaches how happiness lies in giving, not receiving. The work of the Haya Foundation revolves around 6 fundamental projects, which represent the human values that bring life and hope to the hearts of sick and orphaned children. At the same time, the children give emotions that touch the hearts of the volunteers in the Haya Foundation. The Haya Foundation also has good collaborative relationships with other similar foundations in the Holy Land.
So I'm very impressed by the reality of La Crèche, the orphanage in Bethlehem, where little babies, a few days or months old, live without parents. I receive great strength from them. After every activity we do there, we return home with great energy, despite their difficult stories. They give us a lot of vitality, which strengthens our desire to volunteer and help others.
We each have our own field where we show our potential. Amir's experience has also had a great effect on people close to him. Even his family and the volunteers around him have understood the power of Amir's message to today's society.
بعد ما الواحد يمرق مرض صعب من هالشكل ويخسر كثير أشياء اللي هو كان عايشها يومي يخسر وجبة حلوة عم بوكلها يخسر.
During a serious illness, people lose many things: hair, weight, strength, sight. But they discover that there are many simple things in life that they didn't appreciate enough before, like having a coffee with a friend or playing with a child, which gives you emotions more beautiful than anything else. When we realize that we can lose them, we really understand their value. In my case, I can say that out of deep sorrow came hope.
بحس قديش هي قيمة ومن قلب الألم راح يولد الأمل.
The 5th Bible Knowledge Competition was held on July the 3rd at the St. Anthony of Nazareth Centre in the presence of Archbishop Youssef Matta, Archbishop of Haifa, Accra, Nazareth and Galilee, for the Greek Catholics. There was also Monsignor Hanna Keldani, Patriarchal Vicar for the Latins in Nazareth, the Archbishop of the Episcopal Church in Jerusalem, Ria Abu al-Assal, and Dr. Marwan Dides, Latin parish priest of Nazareth, together with several priests, nuns, and numerous participants. The competition aims to deepen the faith and awareness of one's own Christianity through the knowledge of the Bible, which contains words of love and tolerance for all people, words of acceptance of others. We often think we know the Bible because we listen to it in church, read it before going to bed, and try to understand it. However, in the competition we study the Bible so that we can answer some questions, and this makes a big difference. The competition was enlivened by religious songs, which made the atmosphere of the evening pleasant. In his speech, Archbishop Yusuf Matta stressed that familiarity with the Bible does not only mean knowing Christ, but also living Christ. There were 16 couples from different Christian parishes throughout the country who participated in this competition. On the last evening, 2 couples competed for first place and first prize. A trip to Rome, which also includes a meeting with Pope Francis and a visit to the Marian Shrine of Lourdes, France. At the end of the competition, the jury announced the winners: Randa Bahouth from Shafa Amr and Mervat Kunri from Eblin.
I have expressed to Our Lady the desire to visit Lourdes. I asked her to make my dream come true. Today, before the competition, I entered the Basilica of the Annunciation, and I presented her with this intention, hoping that she would fulfill this wish.
Through the Bible knowledge competition organised by the Annunciation Foundation in collaboration with the Annunciation Parish Family Club in Nazareth, the community of the faithful will rediscover a more intense relationship with the Lord.
It was a very rich experience that reminded me when Jesus said to Peter, "Go out to sea and cast the nets for fishing." I feel that I have touched the depths of God's Word by going deeper into the Bible, especially into the book of Proverbs and the book of Wisdom.
Even today it is illuminated only by sunlight and many candles and oil lamps without the help of electricity. Built in 1163 during the reign of Queen Melisenda, St. James Cathedral is the heart of the Armenian quarter of Jerusalem's Old City. In the church, according to Armenian tradition, there are the relics of 2 distinct saints named James, whose stories meet in this very place. The first is James the Apostle, son of Zebedee and brother of John, one of the first 4 called by Jesus on the shores of Lake Tiberias.
There in that chapel one can see the place where his head was buried. St. James the Apostle was the first who was martyred in 44 AD by the order of King Herod, and after he was beheaded, his head was buried here. Why here? Because here was the house of St. James, the brother of Christ, St. James the Minor, the first bishop of Jerusalem. So his head was brought to him and he buried his head in his garden.
This second James is indeed called Brother of the Lord, although not in a literal sense. He was probably a relative of Jesus. He became the first bishop of the Holy City and was killed on the esplanade of the temple around 62 AD.
We can see a small semicircle, so that was the grave of St. James, the first bishop of Jerusalem. In the medieval ages, his relics were moved from there to the main altar.
Right in front of the altar, 2 thrones, one next to the other. One simpler in wood, the other more majestic, richly decorated.
The humble one is used by the Armenian Patriarch of Jerusalem whenever he comes to attend the Divine Liturgy or the Vespers. He sits on this throne. The decorated one is the throne of St. James, the first Bishop of Jerusalem.
The prayer ends. The following day, the faithful of the neighborhood will be called back here again by the sound of these two plates, the iron one in the morning, the wooden one in the evening, placed right in the entrance courtyard of the Armenian Cathedral of St. James.
In the history, twice the Christians were forbidden to use bells. So there was no ways of means to inform the faithful that the prayer starts. So the Armenians started to use these two gongs, and until now, despite we use the bells, we also keep the tradition of hitting these gongs.